Alright, so we've got this situation here where it says draw a scatter plot, diagram, comment on the type of relation that appears to exist between x and y, and then given x bars, so on and so forth, yada yada yada. And then it says graph the least squared regression line on the scatter plot drawn in part A. So the first thing we want to do is we want to look at the correct graph feature. And typically what I would do is I'd look at the x's and just plot them. But there's a clear indicator here that there's two y values for x. So I'm going to scan these graphs and look at the ones that have 2 for x is equal to 1, which is right here. Now if I go over 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 3, 5, that looks like it's going to match up. And then there's also 2 6s here. So I know without a shadow of a doubt that option B is the way to go. Now the whole purpose of this video is to show you how to leverage two different tools to find the linear regression model. And the first one I'm going to show you is Desmos.com because that's the one that's the most accessible. So if we go to this problem here, I have all of my data. I can go to copy it to my clipboard and have all that fun stuff. Now if you didn't have that copy feature, you could click the plus button here on the left and click add a table, and then you could just manually type in the values. But I've already copied the values, so I'm going to paste it and watch what happens. Boom. It automatically populates the table. Now I was able to create a visual representation that matches this graph perfectly. Okay, now what I want you to do is I need you to pay attention to the formula that I'm writing. So I'm going to type in a variation of the formula y equals mx plus b, because what we can do with Desmos is we can use some particular syntax to help us do some linear regression models. So I'm going to type y, the number 1, and I'm choosing y1 because the y header of this table is named y1. I'm going to put the little squiggly mark here, and then I'm just going to type in the formula as the slope-intercept formula, but with a slight modification where I'm choosing x1 instead of x because I want it to pull from this right here. Now the cool thing that I learned the other day is if I go and type in m, it's actually going to give me the entire decimal. So if I needed to, I could copy and paste this value from right here and plug it into my equation. And then the next option is going to be b, or I need the y-intercept. So I'm going to click b, and it's going to give me that value here. Now here we have the parameters listed here. It automatically populates it for you. And here's your correlation coefficient. We've got a negative correlation coefficient. That tells us that's going to have a negative slope. And it lines up exactly with what we have right here. Now I also want to show you how to leverage Excel in doing this. So there's a couple of ways we can do it. But first, if we want to highlight these two columns, we can click Insert, and then we're going to insert a graph, and then we're going to choose the scatter plot option. So there's that one. Now this is where it gets a little tricky, and I had some issues with it. However, I can insert a trend line right here by adding trend line. Now the cool thing here, if you look at the bottom of this menu option, you can choose some different display options. So there's your equation right there. There's our r squared, and then I don't know if it's gonna, I don't want that one. Okay, so you can use Excel to help you establish these different values. Now another cool thing we can do is we can use a function where we type equals, and we can start by typing the slope, and we first are prompted to highlight all of the y values, comma, we're going to highlight all of the x values, and then I'm going to close out that parenthesis, and there we go. And if you look, this negative 0.82317 matches what we have here. Now I'm going to add a column here because I want to label this slope, and I want to label this y-intercept. So the same process for establishing the y-intercept. We'll click equal, we type in intercept, and it starts filling it in for you. First thing you want to do is highlight the y values, comma, then we're going to highlight the x values. So this is allowing Excel to do its thing, and we have our slope, or our y-intercept, which matches nicely over here. Now if I wanted to round to, say, 3 decimal places, I'd click to the cell, and then I just click this button here and round appropriately. So if I want to round to the 2 decimal places, I can do that also. So these are 2 quick and easy ways for you to calculate the linear regression model when you're doing some fundamental statistics work. You could also do this in algebra if you're trying to establish an equation that goes through 2 given points. You don't necessarily need 6 different values in order to do this work. Hopefully it was helpful. Let me know if you have any feedback, and until next time.